Hey, inspired writers. So I want to take a few minutes here and pass on to you some of the knowledge that I have gained over the years as I've looked under the hood and tried to study and learn from people who have gone before me. These are the kind of people that I want to be like when I grow up. The people that have inspired me, the work that they've done, I have loved very much, and even some of these people I don't necessarily agree with, but they have attained a measure of success. They have proven themselves consistently over the years. So here are I would say the top three things all of these people talk about. And as I have studied what they have done, I've learned from them. So Neil Gaiman, Dan Brown, Margaret Atwood, R.L. Stine, Judy Blume, David Mamet, David Baldacci, James Patterson, Aaron Sorkin, Shonda Rhimes, Ted Decker, Ted Elliott, and Terry Rossio. So there's a whole list there. There's even more. These are just the ones that I have actually spent time learning from their teaching. I've found out the things that they've said. I've paid attention when they've said, "Hey, these are the things that are important. This is what inspired me. This is my journey." I've taken the time to stop and look. This doesn't count all of the other people that I've tried to learn from, either reading their interviews as they talk about their process, or sometimes commentaries on a DVD or something like that. So here are, I would say, three keys that all of these people talk about that have been the keys to their success, the keys to their story, and their story writing. And I want to pass these on to you. So the very first one is you've got to write for yourself. We, as inspired writers, we've got to write from our heart. We've got to write the things that entertain us. We've got to write the stories that we believe. We've got to trust inside that what we're writing is good. So don't get caught up in, well, what's popular? Whoa, YA seems to be selling like crazy. I guess I'll write a young adult novel. If you love young adult novels and they inspire you and that's who you are, then write young adult novels. But don't write YA because that's what you think will sell the best. So all of these people, every single one of them have said, you've got to write who you are. You've got to write what inspires you. And if you like it, you got to trust it. If you like it, then someone else out there is going to like it too. Because our part of the thing that we have today as writers is not getting the work out there. That is the easy part now. It's finding like-minded people. It's finding our niche. And writing within that and staying within the expectations of that. So delivering on what you promise. So we've got to trust that there's others out there who share our vision, who share our passion, who share our sense of humor, who share the things that make us tick. There's others like you out there. So if you write for yourself, if you trust your instincts, then you're going to connect with those people. The other thing about writing for yourself, and this is true especially for an inspired writer specifically, is that we are tapping into the Holy Spirit. We're tapping into Christ in us, the hope of glory. So an inspired writer, so again, and I'll say this again and again here in these videos, that an inspired writer is the definition of inspiration is revelation. So an inspired writer is someone who's tapping into the truth that is within us, that we are a new creation in Christ, and we actually are the temple of the Holy Spirit. So an inspired writer, if you're writing for yourself, you're tapping into that spark that is inside of you. You're tapping into the thing that makes you uniquely you, but is also the image of God. So whenever we are willing to let that out and be authentic in that, that's another piece that each of these people have talked about. One of the other ways that they would describe writing for yourself is being authentic. So if you're going to be authentically you, which means you're also, as an inspired writer, you're going to tap into who you were created to be and your identity. out of that, then it's going to connect, it's going to click, it's going to actually speak to the heart of other people out there. And I really like how Ted Decker puts this. He talks about the transformational journey that not only your characters are going to go on, but for us as the writer. So when you're writing for yourself, so he would say, what is the burning question that is in your heart? What is the thing that you're wrestling with? What is the thing that you're like, God, why didn't you show up when this happened? That question, like the Psalms, like David lamenting, but then David always comes back and says, but God, I know you are good. But what are those questions? Like, why is the world like this? Or why is this happening in my life? What is that thing? When you're writing for yourself and you put your characters through that process, then that is also writing for yourself. That's being, you are expecting to be transformed in the process, just like your characters are being transformed. Your hero is being transformed. You are the hero of your own story, is how Ted Decker would put that. So key number 2 that all of these people have talked about: write regularly. They would say write every day, or you put it on the calendar and you just do it. You just show up every day at that time. It doesn't matter if you feel like it. It doesn't matter if you're feeling inspired. You just do it. You just show up to do the work every day, day in, day out, every time that it's scheduled. Now, for me personally, my life and my schedule and the way it's set up, I'm already getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to write. Let alone looking for that time where I want to get alone with God. I want to get alone with Jesus. Because our house starts getting crazy, 6:30 in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. So if getting up at 5 o'clock every morning is just so I can maybe get an hour in each day. So all of these people, though, would say you set a goal, you set a time. R.L. Stein says he sets 2,000 words a day, and then he'll stop. He hits his 2,000, he stops, and moves on with his day. James Patterson talks about getting up in the morning, getting his coffee, writing for an hour or two, and then he goes golfing, and then he comes back and writes again. That's not my story. Someday that will be my story, where I can structure my whole day, where writing is just another key piece, just like around exercise or the things that are important for me to do. But the key takeaway is you write every day. Now, one of these things, to write regularly, I guess would be the best way to say that. Now, one of the things that this does for you, one of the things, is that it teaches you that writer's block is a myth. There is no such thing as writer's block, because you are setting a schedule and you're there, and then there's tips in here, and we'll come back. I want to create more teachings on this, or more things, nuggets that I've learned from all of these people. But writer's block ultimately is a myth, and I believe this. There are times where you don't feel like writing, and you may not trust that what you're doing is actually worth it. But if we just got to get better at it. That's the only thing. That's the other advantage. That's why writer's block is a myth, is you give yourself permission to suck, because tomorrow you're going to do this again. And the next day you're going to do it again. And the next day you're going to do it again. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to hinge everything on getting it right this time, because you're going to give it another shot the next time. And then the other thing is just persistence. So like I just shared a little bit of my story, getting up at 5 o'clock every morning. That's the time where I can get up and I can get alone and I can try and focus. And I'm trying to get better at trying to carve out more time in there where I want to do that, because I want to set more writing goals, and I want to get better at it. But Dan Brown talks about hiding in the laundry room of his in-laws' house, because that was the only place in the house where he could write. Shonda Rhimes talks about, she puts her headphones on and the whole world is gone and it doesn't matter. She puts on her music, she's writing on the train, she's writing, and it's like green eggs and ham in a box with a fox on a house. Yeah. So, but all of them talk about setting a schedule and setting goals. And the other piece that this benefit of this is we get our story ideas from everyday life. So if we're out there and we're seeing something and like, oh, that if I know that I'm going to be writing the next day, that stays fresh. So I know other people will try and block out and they'll say, yeah, I just get away, I get in a cabin and I just write like crazy for 2 weeks. That's their process. But I'm not many of the people on this list. I think David Mamet might have said that he would do that, but all of these other people and all of their success stems from just being consistent, setting a schedule, getting out there and showing up to work day in and day out and just doing the job. Let's see, was there anything else on there? Okay, so the last key that I want to talk about in this particular session, episode, show, whatever we're calling these things, is that if you can get down those first two, if you can write for yourself and make that a key, and if you can schedule every day, then the third key that all of these people have talked about is they've learned that it's worth it. Now, of course, the reason why these people have a platform to speak from is they also have a measure of success. But it's beyond just the financial rewards or the accolades or the awards that they are getting. But if you can write for yourself, if you can write every day, then you find out that it's worth it. And you can overcome one of the key things that I think kills all of us as writers is that self-doubt, that I'm doing this just for me, that this is not going to go anywhere, that this is pointless. David Mamet talks about that. Aaron Sorkin talks about that. So these are hugely successful people, and they still talk about overcoming that doubt that this is going to be good. In fact, more than one of them talk about, getting good at the habit of writing before you get discovered is essential, because then you have more freedom to fail. So I know recently Aaron Sorkin is he just redid, it's a play. I'm spacing out. I want to say Catcher in the Rye. I'm not sure that's right. But the pressure on him is different now than it was before he was discovered, when he was writing on napkins. He said he was a bartender, and then he would get these story ideas, and he would write on napkins his different story ideas from the bar, and then he would go back to his apartment, and they would get him down on paper. So the third key is that it's worth it because you've put in the time and you've found out over time. But all of these people, the other thing about figuring out it's worth it, writing for yourself, writing every day, the reason why it's worth it, then it's inoculation against rejection. So Margaret Atwood, Dan Brown, Ted Dekker all talk about being on their fourth novel before it finally clicked, before finally people would look at it. Talking about people where they had written something, submitted it to them, and then coming back later and saying, yeah, I've already shared this story with you. It's sitting in a box on your floor. That's where when you can do these first two things, the first two keys, you're doing it now out of a place of purity and a place of your own strength, and confidence comes from that. So it's worth it just for you to do it because now, and you're being, like I said before, you're being transformed in the process. So those are three major keys that all of these people have talked about. So you may be asking, now, how is it that I've learned these things? No, I'm not having dinner parties with these people. I don't have their cell phone numbers or anything like that. The main key way was masterclass online. So you've probably seen the commercials when you're on YouTube. Hi, I'm Neil Gaiman, and this is my masterclass. It's been totally worth it for me. I have gained so much wisdom and knowledge, sitting at these people's feet, so to speak. So I highly recommend it. And in fact, shameless plug, there's a referral link. I'm going to drop it in the description and the notes. If I've inspired you at all to want to explore it and invest in that, and you use my referral link, then I get a little cheddar cheese back on that one, and I'll be more than happy to pass that on. And because I truly believe that I'm blessed to be a blessing. So there's a referral link that you can use in the notes for this episode to do that, but you don't have to. Just they're easy to find. But I can't recommend it enough. Now that's some of it. Ted Decker's not on there. Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio aren't on there. But I'm going to come back and talk more about some of these the key things of these people specifically. But they're out there and they can be found. And I'm so grateful for the people who have said, "Hey, this is what my journey was. I want you to learn. My ceiling can be your floor. Learn from me." That's part of, even though I'm still pretty green. I'm still a rookie in some of these things. That's my inspiration here. The inspired writer is someone who's not only inspired vertically, on earth as it is in heaven, but is also someone who wants to share that and say, hey, you can do this. I want to inspire other people to press in and to see these things happen. The other thing that's super exciting about this is it's never been a greater time to believe that we can do this work. I really believe that the world is set at a time where story is powerful. We can get our story out there, and there are key people that we have been set to connect with, and inspire them. And our stories will inspire them to be transformed. It will inspire them to connect with the heart of God. So let's talk more about this. Find me on the socials. I go by J.I. Glover as my writer name, so you can find me on Facebook under J.I. Glover, Twitter, Instagram. I figure if initials are good for C.S. Lewis, they're good for me. But yeah, let's connect.